Hey folks, if you're here to learn about lilies, you're in the right place. We're going to be talking about lilies and other closely related families. Now, I have the word Liliaceae sensu up here, and really what that means is lilies and kin. They're close relatives. So we're going to be talking about Liliaceae sensu stricto. We'll of course talk about what those two terms mean, and then some other required families, Melanthiaceae and Alliaceae. The Lilian lineage has gone through some pretty drastic name changes over the past half a century. The Munn's botanical flora that was published in the 50s or 60s had these separate families, Liliaceae, Amaryllidaceae, and Agavaceae, all of which sort of got sucked into this one much larger family called Liliaceae in the Jepson Manual 1. That's what that stands for, TJM1, the Jepson Manual 1. Which was published in 1992 or 3. So the Iridaceae and the Orchidaceae, they've always been out separate. I kind of just have them as an outgroup to show for this. Well, what happened in the Jepson Manual 2 was virtually an explosion of the Liliaceae family. Amaryllidaceae, Agavaceae, those got spit back out, as well as 12 new families. Brave new world for the Jepson Manual 2, indeed. But notice that Liliaceae survived. So even though this family, which used to be much, much larger in the 90s, those species, it's not like they just disappeared or something. They're still there. They're just in these different families. But that word Liliaceae, it survived. Liliaceae is now known in 2020, like the species that are in this family, Liliaceae, are known as members of Liliaceae sensu stricto, which means in the strictest sense. So this is a much more exclusive version of Liliaceae. This is a much more exclusive version of Liliaceae than this was, right? So we call Liliaceae all of these members, all 14 of these families who used to be in Liliaceae proper. They are now kind of called something different, but they're all still very close relatives. And we call them Liliaceae sensu lato, which means Liliaceae in the largest sense, or in the broadest sense. Sort of a more inclusive version of Liliaceae. So, when I say Liliaceae from here on out, it is 2020, and I will be referring to Liliaceae sensu stricto when I say Liliaceae from here on out, just so you know. So what happened? The reason why the name change happened is because they sequenced DNA, and they realized that all of the things that they were calling Liliaceae were actually not closest relatives. Some were more closely related to the orchids or to some other group than they were to each other, and that's problematic. That means that the old Liliaceae was non-monophyletic, which we cannot accept as taxonomists. So some features that all of these members of Liliaceae sensu lato in the largest sense have in common are, well, most of them have these underground storage units of some sort. Like in this picture, we've got tubers, but we also see bulbs and corms very frequently in the Liliaceae, rhizomes, stuff like that. Underground storage units. And then we also see a pretty typical floral formula. We almost always have tepals. There are definitely exceptions to the tepals thing up here, so just know that that's just a sometimes thing, actually, or maybe usually. But what we can actually see from this picture is that we've got actinomorphic flowers, and they've got 6 perianth parts total, but in 2 whorls. Sometimes they are like this with the tepals, where the sepals and the petals look identical. Other times they look more different from each other, the sepals and the petals. Okay, we've always got almost always got 6 stamens, and we've got those 3 fused carpels of a superior ovary. This is a typical floral formula with some exceptions for members of all 14 of those liliaceous families in the broad sense. See what I did there? Liliaceous. Turn that into an adjective. Cool. Next slide is a closer up look at the perianth. So these 3 right here, this one that I'm labeling, these 3 that I'm labeling P, that's for petal. I can tell those are the 3 petals because they're inside of these 3 things. See this overlap right here? That's how I can tell that this is the petal. It's outside of the sepals. The sepals are always that outside whorl. But when we have a situation like this, like I was kind of hinting at earlier, we have tepals. That's when the sepals and the petals are indistinguishable from one another. They look identical, besides the fact that they're in two separate worlds. Okay. So that's pretty common in the lilies and their kin. Here's just another picture. This was also taken at the Gray Falls campground site that I went to the other day to just kind of try to find some pictures of cool plants for you guys that are in the area. Go back to my one of my previous videos to find out a little bit more about what I saw there. Okay, members of the Liliaceae sensulato, which we're still talking about, kind of the broad sense, include things like agave, and Prosartes, which is a really cute flower that is growing in the redwood forest. If you walk around there right now, you'll definitely see that. Really fancy flowers that come in all shapes and sizes, but again, they're going to have that 3-3-6-3 floral formula almost always, so they're really kind of easy to recognize. Oh, asparagus is in this group, in this large group. This is a picture of beargrass, Erythronium, which Native Americans have used for basket weaving. We've got these cool amaryllis flowers, are called naked ladies. Daffodils, we already picked up this genus Narcissus, which was in Amaryllidaceae. That's sort of considered, that's sometimes considered Liliaceae in the broad sense. Clintonia, this is another member of the Liliaceae group that you'll see in the redwood forest. There's this thing. There's just so many examples. Okay. So now let's talk about your required taxa. Now, we just talked about Liliaceae sensulato a lot. Now we're going to be talking about Liliaceae sensu stricto in the strict sense. So these couple of taxa, these two taxa we're about to talk about, are in that smaller, narrower group of Liliaceae that kind of survived the explosion, if you will. Genus Lilium, this is a very well-known genus around the world. They've got kind of just classic beautiful flowers, and they tend to smell really, really good, if you like the smell of monocots, that is. Which I do. What you can see in this picture is that they've got tepals, okay? They've got, a lot of times they've got a stem which has whorled leaves coming off of it. See what's going on here? We've got multiple kind of layers of these whorled leaves. Yeah, whorled leaves, that's a genus feature for genus Lilium. Now, to be clear here, we're not picking up Liliaceae sensu stricto family characteristics. Now it's a little confusing because we picked up kind of Liliaceae sensulato generalizations, but there's sort of very few, very specific generalizations that we can make about Liliaceae sensu stricto. So that's one of the taxa you'll see in the course book that has a little asterisk by it, meaning you don't need to know family characteristics, just genus Lilium. So like the whorled leaves, the tepals. There's another look sometimes in this genus, a lot of times, those flowers are sort of nodding. So something's going to have to hover from below to pollinate it. But other times they're more upright like this. And pollinators can kind of just land. By the way, that pollen stains. This is a really special native member of California. This one just must be one of the best smelling flowers I think I've ever smelled in my life. Okay, next genus is Trillium. This is another one of those families that we're not picking up family characteristics. You need to know that name, Melanthiaceae. It's called the beargrass family. It's also known as the Trillium family. But the genus that we're picking up in this family is Trillium. Just plain Trillium. And yes, the common name is Trillium or wake robin. In fact, there's even a couple other common names. What we can see from this picture is, well, actually we can see quite a lot. Something that's really noticeable is these leaves, they don't have the typical monocot venation. Notice they've got really complexly netted venation. It's not all parallel like you often see in monocots. No, it's kind of more netted. So they are an exception to that venation rule. Something else about the leaves that's very important, that's really distinguishing of the genus Trillium, is the fact that they have exactly 3 leaves. 1, 2, 3 in this picture. Notice they're all coming from the same node. So we have exactly 3 whorled leaves. This is not a compound leaf. This is a simple leaf. In fact, all 3 of those are simple leaves. There's just 3 of them, and they're whorled, and there's exactly 3 of them. We don't have different levels in all of the plants of Trillium. You will never see this. No, they only have 3 leaves, and they're all colline. They're not basal. Okay. All right, just some more looks. Yeah, we don't always have white flowers. They come in many, many colors, sizes, and shapes. Trillium is a highly variable genus. You should definitely do a quick Google search at the very least of Trillium species, and you'll notice some really interesting things. All the colors you can imagine. What this is a picture of is their underground storage unit. They've got these pretty heavy-duty rhizomes, and actually these represent year increments of growth. And so you can age a Trillium by digging up that rhizome. Don't do that unless it's for research, please. Okay. Just another look. A lot of times the flowers like start off white and fade to pink or vice versa. Really, really nice flowers. You can also tell from this picture the sepals are clearly different from the petals. Oh, another one. Nice. Sometimes they have a long pedicel like you can see in this picture. Sometimes they don't, but they're always going to have solitary flowers. Okay, the next genus in this family is Erythronium. That's a required genus. Erythronium, it has a few common names, but I think the most well-known one is the fawn lily, especially around these parts. So from this picture, you can tell a lot of times the flowers are held nodding. So again, pollinators might need to hover from below. Like Lilium, looks like we've got some tepals here. The sepals are indistinguishable from the petals. Here's just another look. Lots of color varieties. Sometimes those little spots. Crows in the background. Pretty loud. Sometimes they're yellowish, or entirely yellow. This is the Montana state flower, actually. Erythronium, the glacier lily. But you can still tell from this picture that nodding solitary inflorescence. It turns out in this genus, plants have exactly 2 leaves. They don't have any more or any less, and they're basal. They're not found along the stem. Oftentimes those leaves, like you can see from this picture, and then this one sort of fuzzy in the background, they're mottled, which is where that name fawn lily comes from. Those leaves remind folks of the mottled look of a fawn baby deer. Okay, the next genus is genus Allium. This is known as onion, and it's actually a really big genus. And man, the key to this genus is quite a doozy. You have to use a microscope and look at the seed bulb sculpture texture. It's crazy. Anyway, I won't have you key out anything in this genus, I don't think. I struggle with it. What we can see from this picture is basal leaves. Okay, that is a Allium thing. Something else we can kind of see from this picture is the fact that we have multiple pedicels all originating from this one point. What's that called again? That inflorescence type? Yes, it's an umbel. Umbels and basal leaves are features of the family. Alliaceae. But you're only picking up genus features, Allium. And yeah, all members of Allium are going to have that umbel. Have you seen this around town? This grows in a really weedy way all around Arcata and lots of other parts of California. You can pretty clearly see from this picture, at least, that they've got those tepals. They've got those 6 stamens up in there. If you have this in your yard or something, please eat it. Don't buy onions from the store if you've got this. I've got it all up in my yard. And you can just, eat this, You can throw them in your salad. They taste like onions because they literally are. And you can eat the stem. It's really good. You should try it. It's this stuff. They're kind of like these dangly flowers. Cool. Oh, and the really distinguishable feature of this, if you have it in your yard, is that they have these triangular stems or peduncles. It's good. Here's another cute picture of Allium, showing those basal leaves. Classic monocot, parallel venation. Garlic is, believe it or not, an onion. That's kind of a shocker. Garlic is literally in the genus Allium. So a head of garlic is that. It's a bunch, it's actually a bulb. So that's what onions are. They're bulbs. And each one of these things, which you might call a garlic clove, those are leaves. They're highly succulent leaves that are all kind of forming together with this part down here. This part down here is basically a very short stem that's growing a bunch of these succulent leaves. This is their underground storage unit for them to sort of survive the winters. There's that nice umbel in the picture too of garlic. If you've ever grown garlic, you know that they make those large umbels. I just looked over there because I have some growing right there. And what you can see in this picture is the fact that bulbs are really technically just many overlapping succulent leaves. This is an underground storage unit, and what onions are just leaves. Cool. They have these onion volatile compounds that sort of induce crying. Sad, cute, hilarious meme. And I think that's all I've got for you. See ya.